I remember him talking about how hungry they were, and there'd be meat laying on the ground, and
Yeah, he said these guys come up, yeah, they're scrounging through stuff, and they come up with this ball of meat, and they'd shave it off. It's dirty, and they shave it off the pocket knife and they eating on it. So what was it? He goes, I don't know, but they ate it.
they don't know if they was eating their friend.
Yeah, they don't know.
I don't know what it
It was
was.
a ball of meat, and he said that they were so hungry. He said this guy's come back and said they find an old skinny, some kind of varmint, something skinny. He said wasn't nothing on it, but they was hungry, starving to death. He said, my God. But that ball of meat, he said, I don't know what it was. He said, I think it was some kind of a German dish. He goes, I hope. But he wasn't quite sure, but they ate it. They ate on it.
I remember him talking about there were guys that would, they would look through dead bodies, and when they were coming back on, was it the Queen Mary?
Yeah, he went over on Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth.
And Nate went over on the Mary.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Your dad went over on the Mary. Dad went over on Elizabeth. Yeah.
But he would tell me that he saw guys that would just scrounge bodies, and they had gold teeth and rings, and
Yeah.
they were just,
Yeah, they robbed him.
and he didn't like it. He
No, he didn't. He had a guy once walking along, and
That's like grave robbing.
yeah, these Germans were sitting alongside the road, and they were, they'd been shot up and stuff laying there, and this guy pulled out his 45, and he's walking along there going boom, boom, and just shooting them. And Dad went up there and knocked the shit out of him. And he goes, what for? And he goes, they're done. Their fight's over. They're done. What are you shooting them for? He said, they're done. Their fight's over. And they were wounded. They were wanting to give up. But that guy walked along and started shooting them. He just murdered them.
So about Germans being done. Remember him telling us about, or at least I'm sure he told you, about when they went to raid that village toward the very end of the war, and the Germans, they just ran.
Oh, that was a prison camp.
No, the military ran, and that's where he got the Mausers from.
Oh, no. Where he got the Mausers from is they were so close. They was going after the Germans that the Germans had to swim the Rhine River to get away from them.
Yeah.
So the Germans threw their guns down and swam the Rhine River to get away. So Dad picked up 2 of the Mausers.
I remember him telling me he got them out of the water, and he said they were stripping their uniforms.
Yeah, they were getting.
They wanted no part of it.
No, they wanted out of there. They were done. But Dad somehow shipped them guns back to the States. I don't know how he did, but he got them back.
He told me they gave you a bag that you were allowed, anything that would fit in there you were allowed to ship.
Yeah.
And he didn't really think anything about it, so he shipped 2 guns back.
Yeah, he gave one.
Doc Tanner.
Well, Doc Tanner. He gave one away to somebody. Then he gave one to Doc Tanner.
He kept one, and gave one to Doc Tanner. The one that he kept burned up in the fire. That's how it was told to me. And
Okay,
then,
maybe that
and then
one
when
was
Doc died.
before he died. He called Dad down there. We went down there, and Doc went behind his curtain, and he come back and he gave him that same Mauser that Dad picked up. It had the German markings on it and everything.
That was the one that I had.
Yeah.
It got stolen.
Well, that's the one that Bus modified too. He modified the barrel somewhat. Yeah.
The stock on it.
I put the word out on that gun. I went to a meeting with ATF in Topeka once and stuff, and I put the word out to this agent. I told him, I said, if you guys come across a German Mauser that's been modified, look under the butt. Take the butt plate off and look under the butt. There's going to be a name there, and I'm doing the name. Something. They wrote it down. I said it could be in Mexico. It's no telling where it's at. But if you happen to come across a gun, it's a German modified Mauser.
Whose name was it?
Your dad had his name under it.
That's what I thought.
Underneath the butt.
That's what I thought. I thought Dad told me that, but I
Yeah,
wasn't sure.
it was underneath that butt plate.
I've never, the places I've gone and looked, whenever I walk into places, I look for that gun. And if I ever find it,
Oh yeah,
I'll just buy it, and there'll be no questions asked.
yeah, me too. If I'd ever come across it, yeah. It's somewhere. Somebody's got it somewhere. It's in somebody's closet, or it could be held. It could be at the bottom of a river. You don't know. Could have been used in a major crime or something, or it might be in Mexico.
Yeah.
You don't know. But, and let's see, there's different little stories and stuff, but I asked Dad one time if he'd come out to the house. And it was one of those times that I was busy. It was at the farm when I lived on the farm. And here he come up the driveway, and I was getting ready to go cut hay or do something. And I thought, oh God, here he comes, shoot, you know. But he pulled up, and for some reason, I just thought to myself, and I said, well, yeah, come on. And I grabbed a couple chairs, and I put them underneath the shade tree, and we just sat down. And I thought, he started talking, and we started talking about, he used to get a magazine called The Acorn, and I had one, and I was reading it to him a little bit, and he fell asleep while I was sitting there. He kind of comes to, and we got to talking, and that's when I told him, he said, you know, George, he said, when I came back from the war, he said, I wasn't a very good guy. And he goes, I'd get me a jug of whiskey, and I'd go out on the river all by myself. And I'd just stay gone for 3 or 4 days and stuff. And I said, well, Dad, I said, you know, back then, you guys went through hell, and they'd come back and just turned you loose and expected you to pick up right where you left off. And I said, you guys have been through hell. I said, and it's no wonder. I said, now they have a name for that called PTSD and stuff. But I said, you guys, you know, I said, Dad, I don't blame you. And I said, you know, I said, Dad, I said, you got to realize, I said, you lived through that for a reason. I said, God knew your life. He knew that you was going to have a wife that was going to be in a bad car wreck. You was going to have 5 kids at home. Somebody's going to have to take care of her and those kids. And I said, you did. And I said, a lot of guys would have loaded up and said, adios, and left, but you didn't. And I said, that God had a plan for you. And I said, and you know, I'm thankful that He kept you alive during that too. I said, Dad, you had a reason for that. And I said, you know, I'm proud of you and stuff. And he just sat there, you know, and stuff. And he said, well, maybe so. And I said, no, Dad, it's true. I said, you know, he saved you for a reason, you know. And I look back now, everything that I put in for when I went in boot camp would have put me in Vietnam. I had 5 choices. The first top 4 would have put me in Vietnam for sure. No doubt. But I got my last one. That kept me in the States. That put me on the West Coast, then East Coast, then it put me down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. But it kept me on the East Coast in Cuba. And I look back now, Dad's the one that said go to the Navy. He knew, see, I look back now, and then I didn't know why. But I look back now and I know why. He didn't want me to go to the Army. He didn't want me to join the Army or the Marines. You know, because that would have definitely shipped my ass. You know, here I had an 8th grade education. They'd have stuck a gun in my hand and sent my ass to Vietnam and stuff. No doubt. So that kept me out of there. So Dad was looking out for me. I mean, I know that now. I mean, I look back and I think, you know, he was thinking. He said, he didn't want me to get over and get killed. So he kept me on there. Now, I'm thankful for that. But my reason was, I think the same thing. God has this all planned out because He knew that we'd be raising one. We was going to lose Rachel and stuff. So, you know, all this is thought out years in advance from the time you're conceived.